We're live?
We are live, Will Grant. Welcome back to Chat with Will Grant, dude. Good to be with you, man.
Dude, thanks so much. I had so much fun last time, and this is really where I want to be. I really couldn't think of anything I'd rather be doing. I've set a few goals, even a couple years ago about, I want to push myself to a whole new level of myself and feel like I'm finding my potential, and then teach others how to do the same thing, and how can I bring up other people around the world and the people close to me. And I feel like this is how I'm doing that, so this is me literally living my best life.
Oh, this is incredible, man. Well, the attendee list is filling up. So welcome, everybody. I am Edwin Adams, the Leadership Alchemist, and this is my friend and brother from another mother, the Will Grant. So I am strictly here to facilitate the conversation. This is all about Will Grant and his tremendous influence in three domains of existence that I think he has become quite adept at. I think he's a professional. I think he's a respected coach in any of these areas. And he would get my highest personal recommendation from a leadership and personal development perspective in any of these domains. So Will, I'm excited to talk to you about all things breath, nutrition, immune system, and movement. We've got a lot to cover, dude.
Yeah, we do. And dude, I'm excited so much. And it's not just about me, it's about us, and that's what this is us coming together to learn from each other, and how we can, step into our potential, and how we can really, because especially right now with all this craziness going on, we need to be doing the best we can to help strengthen our immune systems, and to help, combat all the stress and anxiety that's going around. If it's not us, it's somebody that we care about that's around us, so the best thing that we can do for the people around us is to improve ourselves. And the best thing that we could do for ourselves is to help out the people around us. And like I said, it's about us today, how can we learn to step in our potential? Because, if I'm working every day to find my potential, and I'm helping you guys to work every day and find your potential, this is how we find our potential as a species, as a planet, to really find what we're capable of.
Yeah, and it's funny you said that, Will. I was challenged several months ago, actually, where I was doubting whether I should put something out into the world that I'd created. And my mentor kind of chastised me and said, it is your responsibility to be doing exactly this. You have a giftedness and a uniqueness that is yours. And that's why you're here on this planet, to serve others with it. So if you're not doing stuff like we're doing here, Will, shame on us. We've got to be doing this with what we're gifted with. So
yeah, and, I 100% agree. It's about what we're creating and how we're contributing. And most of the times, almost every example that I've seen of people really struggling mentally is because they're not contributing in some way. They're worried about what's going on and how they feel, and they're worried about themselves in a way that is in a scarcity mindset, instead of finding ways to just improve the things around them and improve other people and just contributing. Because that's why we're here, is to find a purpose and use, because we all have these beautiful innate gifts and talents that nobody else has, that we are unique in our own way. And the more that we can discover who we are, and discover our strengths, and develop these strengths, and use those strengths to contribute to anything that we really care about. That's the beautiful thing. If it's our friends, our family, our art, our creative, our job, some big mission, the more that we can devote this energy towards that purpose, the better we're going to feel, and like I said, that's what this is for me, is, me trying to take my strengths and develop them, and how can I contribute to you guys, and how can I help others come up, and here we are.
Yeah, well, looking at all the attendees that are here, I'm so thankful everybody's here to,
That's so awesome.
hear the wisdom of Will Grant and what he has to offer you today. It's incredible to see you guys here. If you have a question, there is a chat function at the bottom of your Zoom panel. Feel free to throw in some chats. Will, I might get distracted looking down at the chat room, so bear with me. I want to make sure.
Speaking of getting distracted, I'll start with my first tip. One thing that I've learned is, we all know from ancient wisdom that the more we can be present, the better we're going to feel and the more we're going to get out of that situation. And just the more that we can learn. And whatever you're doing, you want to be as present as possible to make sure that that time is worth your time. And one thing that I always like to do is I like to turn my phone on airplane mode just to give my full focus and attention towards whatever I'm doing. You know, if that's some creative work or if that's communicating with another human being, it always helps to put your phone on airplane mode just to be completely present in that environment.
That's awesome. We've got some people saying cheers. Thank you for this. So that's awesome. There's also a Q&A function. If you wanted to ask Will a question, I'll try to get it into the conversation if you post a question in there or in the Zoom chat room. So welcome everybody. Glad you're here. Will, you know, I struggle with this. I struggle with this so much, trying to put you in a box. And for me, organization and trying to understand people, I categorize them. It's impossible to categorize you, dude. You have been everything from a model bodybuilder, fitness pro, to a professional athlete, to now horticulture, entrepreneur. You just don't stop. And I think you personify those amazing growth concepts and laws of transformation that I know we hold near and dear. So you personify that. On our last webinar together, we had hundreds of questions really around those three domains. So I just want to jump right into the first one that I think is most fascinating, and that's breath. A lot of questions around breath. I know there are a lot of techniques around breath. Can you tell me quickly, again, to remind the listeners who are here today, how you discovered breath and what it's meant to you? And maybe we could even do a 5-minute demo, perhaps.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, breath has been one of my absolute biggest teachers, 100%. I just found, like I was talking about before, about being present. So the more I connected with my breath, the more it just brought me to the present moment. And that's the beautiful thing about our breath is, no matter what we're thinking about and what's going on, if we just stop and feel the sensations of that oxygen, that nourishing oxygen going through our nostrils, it instantly brings us to the right now. And that instantly clears off a little bit of brain fog that helps you see your situation of how it really is, instead of this clouded judgment of what, you know, this story that you're telling yourself of what it is. So every single time that I just started putting my mind towards my breath, it was practicing that act of presence. And I just, you know, on top of all the physical health benefits that we all know oxygen does, like it was just bringing me to the present moment, to where I was seeing my life and seeing myself from outside of myself for the first time my whole life. And I started to work out all of the tensions that have been holding me back throughout my whole life, of some past preconceived thoughts from some trauma or something like that. I began to, because your breath will take you to what needs to be worked out, you know, and that's what it was for me. It was taking to all these things that were holding me back, and then it was also taking me to my strengths, and it was also just learning about myself. You know, I think one of the biggest goals throughout our lifetime is not only to contribute in some way, but of a process of self-mastery. You know, we must be always working on mastering ourselves, mastering our minds, because you have no control over anything if you don't have control of what's going on up here. So you have no control over your life, your environment, how you're going to feel, what happens in your external life. You have no control if you don't first control what's going on up here. And the more that we can stop and connect with our breath, the more we start to jump into our control centers, and we start to peek around at all these different buttons and controls that we have. And we're starting to learn what makes us tick, what can bring the best out of us, what's bringing the worst out of us. And then, because we're practicing that presence, we notice throughout the day when we're bringing our best self and when we're bringing our worst self, and we're instantly able to re-steer that to our best self constantly. And the more that we practice just connecting with our breath, the more we're able to strengthen that muscle inside our brain that does exactly that.
Fantastic. You know, I know you prime your day beginning with breath and movement. So we've got one question coming in talking about your morning routine. How early do you start with breath, and what does it look like?
Well, I mean, I'll tell you a quick gist of my morning routine now. So I'm always kind of adjusting and pivoting my morning routine based on what big project or goal I'm working on at that time. But right now I'm waking, like, my watch is vibrating me at 6:30. And then I say I have about 30 minutes to wake up, go to the bathroom, drink as much water as I possibly can, walk outside and just keep drinking water, brush my teeth, and then at about 7 o'clock, so I give myself about 30 minutes to just start that breathing. And then what I've been doing lately, as of most, is I just set my timer for 20 minutes. And then I do 3 rounds of Wim Hof breathing, which I can explain and demonstrate that for you in a minute. But the first round, I'll do 30 of the deepest breaths I can, let it out, and then hold for as long as I can, and just observe and let my body release all tension. And then on my second round, I'll do 40 breaths. My third round, I'll do 50 breaths. And usually by my third round, I'm holding my breath for over 2 minutes. And then that's when my pH level's raised and I'm really able to practice that presence. I'm learning how to observe. I'm learning what's making my body relax and feel good. And I'm learning what's making my body feel anxious and ruin my breath times. So then at about after those 3 rounds, whatever remaining time I have left of that 20 minutes, I'll just get crisscross and sit in regular meditation and just begin feeling my breath and just focus on breathing into every single cell in my whole entire body. And the main reason why I do this is, one, to just take control over my energy before the day takes control over my energy. So I just connect with myself and I connect with my breath. But first, I just begin over oxygenating my whole system, because our body runs off oxygen. So just to over oxygenate our mind and over oxygenate our body, it's going to have us thinking clear. It's going to have us moving smoother. It's going to have us thinking and moving better. So every decision and action past that, we're just doing it a little bit better.
Well, did you talk about that? I feel like I'm not breathing enough right now. I feel like I need to go take some deep breaths. So you found Wim Hof purposefully or by accident, and why did you choose this over, the one you showed me the other day where you're just
Yeah.
switching nostrils?
Well, I mean, that's a long story just in itself. My big brother has been one of the biggest inspirations to me. And, I was battling with a bunch of injuries. I was battling with a bunch of health issues physically and mentally. I was struggling with a lot of anxiety, borderline depression. Some people would call it a depression, some people wouldn't. But I was really low and I was beating myself up inside my head constantly all day, where I was miserable, I was mean. and pretty much the best shit that I've learned for the most part has been learned from my breath, from watching nature, and my big brother.
Mm.
And this one time my brother broke his arm and he told me, yeah, he's going to be doing this Wim Hof breathing and I should do it because he's going to heal his broken arm in like half the time. And, he's feeling so good on it. And he's been doing this cold therapy. And he was just telling me about this breathing. And, I tried it a couple of times, but I didn't really get it until this one time we're on FaceTime, almost just like this. And he talked me through a full round and I felt what he was talking about. For the first time in years, I just felt really good naturally without drugs or some sort of bad food or bad thing for me. I just felt really good. Like all of these dopamines were exploding inside my body and I understood what it meant to feel good and what I'm supposed to feel like. And then I just kept doing it. And I just told myself I'm going to, like, even if I didn't understand the theory behind it, I knew that oxygen was good and oxygen was healing my injuries, right? Mm. So I just told myself I was going to do it every single day. And that's really when my whole entire life changed. And I started it built all of this momentum, and one good habit led to another good habit. And I started getting rid of all the bullshit that was holding me back. And I started connecting with my strongest best self, and I started creating a purpose within that strongest best self. And I've been diving my whole present being into that purpose, and I've never felt better in my whole entire life. Like I said, like I am exactly where I want to be right now, right here, talking to you guys.
Oh, that's awesome. Your friend James Keating is asking, how is your shoulder doing? And what did you do to get better so fast? Because does that relate to this breathing?
Yeah.
Because he had his surgery 2 weeks after yours, so I know he's looking for help.
Yeah. Like, dude, check this out, man. Like, so yeah, the shoulder is doing really good. I mean, as you can see, I'm pretty ahead of schedule. I've been doing, I believe, everything I can to just assist my body in doing its job that it knows how to do. And that's really the stuff that we're going to be talking about in the webinar, because what heals something that's broken and can also take somebody who's in a good position and take them to the next level. And that's, I've been really focusing on my nutrition. I've been really focusing on my extra breath work and my extra times in meditation. And I've been literally practicing my movement every single day. It's part of my process of self-mastery is I try to practice moving and using my body as best as I can, and that's with these certain morning practices that I like to do. And I'm re-going through that Move You program that is, I mean, one of the awesome courses ever that literally just teaches you how to move and use your body, and like teaches you how to engage certain muscles that maybe not be engaging enough throughout the day, so you keep better posture and your body just functions and works better. And when your body is in better align, then all the rivers can flow so much better and get that oxygen and blood flow and those nutrients into the place that you need them throughout the day to feel your best.
Our friend Halima out on the West Coast wants to know, even though you do this breath work, you still might not feel your best some days, right? I mean, it's not the solve all solution.
Yeah. Well, I mean, two things to that. Now, I feel like my worst days are still better than my best days before I started this, like 100%. But we all have those things in our life that come up that cause stress. But now I'm just really good at dealing with it, I guess I could say. So I can handle so much more. So I'm able to accomplish so much more, and I'm able to contribute so much more. So like I'm taking on such bigger tasks and bigger goals than I ever have in my whole entire life. And I'm handling them better than I ever have in my whole entire life, because I know how to just connect with my breath and connect with my present moment. And trust me, like there's days where I come back and I can sense that my energy is not as good as it could be, because all this toxic stuff has come up in the world, or just these energies or just stressors that come up. And that's when I put my phone away, I walk outside, and I just start breathing. Like I let myself come back to that center, or I think the East call it the chi. I let myself come back to my best self. But because of all this practice with my breath, I'm able to be mindful enough and aware so much sooner about when my energy is starting to get maybe someplace that I don't want it to go. And I'm able to regulate that better than I ever have in my life, because I have such a close relationship with my breath and with all of my systems inside my body to help regulate my stress, and help regulate my gut too, to be honest, because you can't stress and have digestion at the same time. Like, it's one or the other. When our bodies are stressing, our gut is turned off, and that stuff is having a hard time to digesting those 7 meals a day that the doctors are telling us to eat.
So clearly your fans are wanting to see a demonstration of how you even get started. And if there's a simple way to start for those who have no experience with this level of breathing, and maybe how do you 10x it for those who've been in some breathing?
I mean, the best way, I promise you, is just to go in your bed or lay down in your living room on a mat and just begin breathing. Breathe in all different patterns, play with your breath, but a few little routines that I do, because a lot of people need structure, like I do too. So a few things that you can do is, like I said, I like to do 30 breaths in and then let it out and hold, then 40 and then 50. But you can start with 10, you can start with 5, you can start with 15, but I promise you that you can get 30. I promise you that everybody here can get 30. It may not be 30 of the best breaths, but just 30 of your best breaths. And when you find yourself and push yourself to that limit is how you strengthen yourself to that limit. So I'll show a matter of 5 breaths with a quick little breath hold just to kind of see the rhythm of how it goes.
Perfect.
Maybe I can push this back a little bit. And usually I like to lay down because especially on those breath holds and even on every single exhale, the more that you can let go, the more that you can surrender, the deeper you're going to be able to go and the more you're going to be able to get out of this. Okay.
Well, you know, you've also said before, there's a risk that you could fall over.
Yeah. Like, so
you need to lay flat.
The goal of this is to just completely let go and let your body do what it needs to do what it wants to do what it knows to do. And for that, you have to get back all the tension that we're holding on to. So you want to be able to let go, and you don't want to let go while driving. You don't want to let go if you're in water. You don't want to let go if you can fall and bump your head. Like I've done before. I made the mistake, not respecting the power of my breath, So yeah, get in a place that worst case scenario or best case, it's a soft landing. Okay. But then again, you don't have to go that hard. You can go as hard as you feel comfortable with. I think the point is to find your comfort zone and play with that. Like I have a pretty strong comfort zone because I train this every single day, and I've been training it since I feel like I've been a kid. Okay. So I'll do, say, 10.
Okay. Wow. So is there any magic to in through the nose, out through the mouth?
See, like I just took my first breath, but I could have held my breath so much longer, because all the carbon dioxide that kind of tells you when to breathe is out, and then all of your cells are just over oxygenated, and you're able to hold your breath so much longer, and your pH level is raised, and I feel my gut, like I'm able to connect with my gut, and I'm able to connect with my body, because the goal there is just to practice being here right now, being the observer, and just observe and let go. And the more that we're able to do that, the more that we're able to take it into our lives. And I'll get right to your question, but one thing that I noticed, and I just had to point off, is my first 3 or 4 breaths, when I was expanding my stomach and my whole diaphragm as much as I can, I felt my internal organs pushing against to squeeze, to kind of wring out that sponge of that toxic shit that's been sitting in there for however long. It squeezes out all that toxic inflammation that sits there, and then my heart starts pumping it with that fresh blood and oxygen. So it's instantly nourishing all of my internal organs just by taking in those deep, nourishing diaphragmic breaths, I believe is the right word.
Mm-hmm.
And like I instantly feel healthier. Like I noticed that, the green's a little greener and the blue's a little bluer, and I'm just here right now, like better. And that's just from 5 breaths.
Wow. So, couple of questions. Does it start in the abdomen and move to the chest? And then what is the interplay between the nose and the mouth with the input and outflow of air?
Okay. So when you're first starting this, if you haven't done a lot of breath work before, you probably don't have much control if it's through your stomach or through your chest. So just breathe. Breathe in as deep as you possibly can, but focus on pulling from deep into your pelvis all the way up, and try to find this rhythm of filling up your whole stomach, your whole diaphragm, all the 360 around your rib cage, your whole entire chest. You can even feel like you're getting a little bit inside your head, and then just sigh that out, release it, and then fill it up again. And you're going to be able to get more oxygen in if you're breathing through your mouth. Okay. But you can breathe through your nose too, do what feels good.
Try either one.
Yeah. Try both. Like I do both all the time. I just go by how I'm feeling. Sometimes I'll do a whole session through my nose. Sometimes I'll do the whole session through my mouth. Sometimes I'll do 10 breaths from my mouth and 20 breaths of both. Like I'm playing with that because I've got to that point of practice.
Sure.
So when you're just starting out, just breathe and experiment with your breath, connect with your breath, and give your best effort within your breaths so you can be your best to sit there and observe without attachment towards anything that you usually hold on to.
Gotcha. So the goal is not perfection, and don't get stuck on a correct process. Just breathe and feel into it.
Everybody's journey is a little bit different. Just
Okay.
breathe and connect with your breath. Like for a lot of people, some people might not like the Wim Hof. They might not like putting their body to that point, and that's okay. There's a million and one different breathing techniques that help nourish our mind and help nourish our body. Like this is just one that I felt like I've connected with because that's my personality, is I like to get the most I can as quick as I can and go as hard as I can and as deep as I can, and I had a lot of shit to work out that I needed to get through,
Right.
and that's really, I feel like why I've connected with that. And then plus, I mean, I've done so much study and so much research on it, and like, fuck, man, like it's doing great things all over the world. And I have a house where it's constantly in and out with different professional athletes, Olympic level athletes from all over the world. And we got everybody doing this stuff. Like they feel this, and
That's
they
awesome.
know this, and like it's helping them perform better. It's helping them learn how to control their minds better. That's beneficial for somebody who's struggling with anxiety, for someone who's struggling with a depression or stress, to all the way someone who's competing at an elite level in business or in sport and anything. Like you want to learn, it's that goal of self-mastery for the rest of our lives.
Awesome. Got a breathing question for you from our friend Dan. He says, can you describe the 4-7-8 breathing technique? Does that ring a bell with you?
I'm guessing it's something like 4 seconds in, 7-second pause, 8 seconds out. It's probably something like that. But that's another beautiful different breathing technique. And there's a million different ways to do it. It doesn't have to be 4-5-7, or like it could be 5-5-5. It could be 7-7-7. It could be 8-8-8. And essentially, if we're talking about the same thing, what those numbers are is like a 5-second in, a 5-second hold, and a 5-second out. Or you can have a longer exhale. And when you're doing that and when you're holding on those pause, you're literally activating your rest or digest system, because our body is usually in either two states, and only these two states. It's like fight or flight, where we're fighting off some sort of stress or working out some sort of problem. We're in our heads thinking. Or we're in this rest or digest state where we're relaxing, we're regenerating, our gut is digesting. And a lot of times all these tasks that we have to do throughout the day, or all of these different stressors, are activating our fight or flight. So we're constantly in this stressed mode. And using that technique that he's talking about, we can instantly manage that anxiety and manage that stress with just that simple breathing technique of 5 seconds in, a 5-second pause, and 5 seconds out. Or it could be 7 seconds out. You could do 8 seconds. But just play with it. Play with those numbers. And like, we could all do that right now. Edwin, even you, let's go 5 seconds in, 5-second pause, and then 7 seconds out. And I'll count it on my hand. Ready? So let's go 5 seconds in, 5-second pause, and then 7 seconds out.
Well, that's harder to do. That takes a little bit more concentration.
well, and that's just one round.
Yeah.
If you're just starting, you can even start with 3 seconds, or 4 seconds or 5 seconds, but that's just one round. If you do 3 of those, you will like instantly put your body in a parasympathetic state where that's that state where it can fight off disease. That's that state where it can combat stress and start regenerating your cells and start digesting your food, is when you could instantly put yourself in that relaxed state. And I feel like one of the biggest benefits of meditation and breathing and really all of this is learning how to keep our mind and bodies relaxed, and that's the practice, is learning how to keep ourselves relaxed and, in composure and feeling good.
Yeah, I got some more questions for you, Will. So Marianka is asking, so we can choose after which many breaths we are to hold it. So your 3 rounds are like, number 1, holding after 30 deep breaths, 2 after 40, 3 after 50. Does that make sense?
I mean, you can do whichever one you feel good with. Like I feel like to get the most benefits, you definitely want to be doing 30 to 50 deep breaths in. But as far as how long I'm holding it, like that's how long you want to or how long you can.
But it's after every round that you are holding that breath.
Yeah, and that's very important because that's what's going to help rebalance all of your chemistry and rebalance your hormones and rebalance that dopamine and like replenish your whole physiology are those breath holds. If you just do a bunch of big, deep breaths, you're actually going to get your body out of a line because it's going to be too high in oxygen and too low in carbon dioxide, and then you could be even more stressed. So doing those breaths and then following it by the breath hold is what helps that system to rebalance and to revitalize all of its like its own pharmaceuticals inside your head.
Ah, got it. Now you're touching in my territory. All
Yeah.
right. So I know we breezed over this, Ian, my bad. Will, what is the name of the breathing technique that you like the most? The Wim Hof, spell that for us.
WIMHOF. But I feel like that breathing is getting so popular. If you just sound it out, you'll get close enough and he'll pop up.
Okay,
But
cool.
yeah, like Wim Hof breathing. And like I have a bunch of videos on that as well. You can check out my YouTube channel. I literally have a whole playlist teaching how to do Wim Hof and like even showing you all the benefits I do, showing you my bloopers, showing you, an event that I went to where I met Wim Hof, like, and actually got to learn from him. So yeah, like I have a whole playlist on that.
Oh,
And it's
cool.
on my YouTube as well.
So our friend Jim Hernandez is asking, I know you do a lot of stuff other than breath. You're a movement specialist, nutrition specialist, and also breathing. But he's asking, in practicing this breath, has this helped with your health? Like, have you gotten sick the same or less since you started these transformational experiences?
I definitely, yeah, 100%. Like I have so much more control over, like, I pretty much always had a strong immune system, but so I never really got sick often, but now I just have so much control. So like I'm sensing my body as soon as it's starting to fight off something in its environment. Like I feel the inflammation go straight into my nose and I feel it inside my body and I instantly know how to counteract that. So I'm beating off these sicknesses and I'm getting less of the symptoms, and like I don't get as sick as I ever, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm not
Yeah,
getting
absolutely.
the symptoms like I used to in any way. There was a time though, like when I had that surgery, it was really weird. I felt like my immune system was weaker than it ever was ever since I started doing the breathing. But I have noticed that ever since I started doing the breathing, like I'm affected so much less from any sickness in my environment at all. Like, because I'm raising the pH level of my blood every single morning, and your body has a hard time, or sickness has a hard time living in an alkaline state, and it feeds off this acidic state. And when you do that deep breathing, you instantly put your blood in an alkaline state. So it does so much better to fight off that sickness. And on top of that, we're getting sick and we're getting the disease because we're stressed. Something in our body is stressed. It's fighting something in its environment. That's what's causing that inflammation. And with that breathing, you learn how to instantly start draining that inflammation out of your body. And I think it's like 98, 99% of all sicknesses start with inflammation, and inflammation is just starting with stress. So this breathing is combating this stress and this immunity on so many different battlefields.
Awesome. Will, there are so many questions in here. This is awesome. Guys, I see your questions. I promise I'm going to get to them if Will will just be quiet and let me ask him the question. No, our friend Kai is saying there's actually an app for Wim Hof. Have you used the app at
Yeah,
all?
yeah, yeah. The app is awesome. I highly and it's completely free. So I highly recommend um getting that app, and like he will talk you through the whole entire thing. Like there's actually a guided meditation I love using on YouTube. It's 15 minutes. So if you type in 15-minute guided Wim Hof breathing, it takes you through 3 rounds, and that's Wim Hof talking you through it himself. So you can't get
Oh,
any
nice. Our friend
and
Richard was asking about guided meditation and which one
yeah,
you use.
I've
Do
seen
you use
that.
any other guided meditations?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, when I first started trying to meditate, that was how I started because I didn't know what to do or how to do it. I would just type in 5-minute guided meditation on YouTube, 10-minute guided meditation on YouTube. And YouTube has a meditation for anything you can think of, for rebuilding cells, for a stressful day, for love, for money, whatever you want. YouTube has a guided meditation for it. And it's so easy if you're just starting off, because then you're just learning how to connect with the present moment from a professional to teach you.
Sure. So I probably know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask anyway. Our friend Faith is saying, do you find benefits in doing this practice outside and connecting with nature at the same time you're doing breathing?
100%. The air is clear and the energy is higher. Every single plant, I mean, everything has energy, right? So this plant here, right, this little aloe vera that you see right in my hand, that has a positive energy that gives off a positive energy in its environment. So if you're outside next to any plants or any vegetation, there is a certain energy that's going to bring yours up, that's going to help you get more out of it. And on top of that, plants and humans have this perfect relationship to where they're breathing in carbon dioxide and they're breathing out oxygen. So they're going to assist this whole process for you, because you're going to be having this perfect symbiotic relationship where you're breathing in the oxygen, and that's just going to help you get fresher air and everything more out of it. And connect with your environment, because the more that we can connect with our environment, the more that we can connect with ourselves. Because a little secret, we are our environment.
Yeah, I noticed you walk around barefoot a lot out there in your yard.
I
And
mean,
you're barefoot right now.
yeah,
What
yeah. I mean,
calls that barefoot grounding?
I try to be barefoot, honestly, as much as I can, and that's about so much more than just connecting to the earth. That's actually a
Mm,
lot of movement and posture practice as well, because I'm learning how to use my feet the way my feet are meant to be used, and evolve to be used. Like a lot of people know, I've struggled with so much like knee pain and injuries. And a lot of it starts with the way we're disconnected with our feet, in almost the same way that we're disconnected with our breath. And like, because we wear these shoes all day that just squish our feet up, and they're desensitized. So we have all these different senses inside our foot that's meant to connect to the earth for us and help us take in so much, all this new information, not only about the environment, but just how to move better,
mm.
to keep your head up taller and to keep the bones stacked, to help us posture, and to be using our feet like a muscle, to be engaged, to engage our glutes and engage our hips all together as one. And these shoes are limiting us from being able to use our feet. Like when we put on those shoes with those big pads, it's literally turning off like your feet, because your feet and your ligaments are supposed to work as your suspension, but those shoes are taking over the job. So your mind's natural tendency is like, okay, where can I put this extra energy? Probably into sitting and stressing about my phone or
Mm.
some big epidemic that's going on, instead of like being present in that moment, connecting with each step as you're moving throughout the day, moving like a beautiful symphony throughout your life.
Wow.
And
I
being
love
barefoot
those
helps
words.
just moving better, because it connects you with your spine all the way up. I noticed my first workout ever going to work out barefoot, it was this stair workout, and I was listening to a lot of Tony Riddle, who ran all the way up Great Britain barefoot, which is pretty crazy. Like, this guy's pretty awesome. But and then I was like, okay, I'm going to try this out so I can help learn how to use my feet and land softer for my knees and for my back and for my whole body. And my first set that I do these stairs twice a week, every single week, this stair workout where I'm running up these stairs, my first set, I instantly noticed my posture to scoot my shoulders and have my chin back more. And I didn't need to look down at each step because my feet knew where they were. Like it, in a way I can't describe unless you just go out there and feel it and practice, but I instantly didn't have to look down and keep my shoulders hunched. Like, and this is my first set, halfway through my first exercise. I noticed that, I could pick myself up, and I was breathing better because my chest was open and my passageways was open up cleaner. And that's just from stepping from barefoot, and then on top of that, I was noticing how I was putting too much pressure on the outside of my feet because I'm walking on concrete. It's forcing me to step like you're supposed to and grip and use your feet in the same way that we're using our hands. And then I noticed that my glutes were more engaged. So my pelvis was in a better position and my back wasn't hurting at the end of my workouts, and neither was my knees.
See, while you were talking, I took my shoes off. Thank you, Will. You're making me feel bad here.
Yeah. Take the shoes off, take the socks off, let your feet breathe. You're going to feel better. Like I honestly love to walk around my neighborhood once a day barefoot.
Wow.
But this takes practice. Like, don't just try to go run a marathon barefoot because I promise you it's going to hurt. So start, like, if you don't ever barefoot, start walking around your house barefoot. Start working that comfort zone. Like, that's the goal of all of this with our breath, with our movement, with our nutrition, is just finding our comfort zone and just keep continuing trying to improve and progress that.
Love it. I've got 2 more questions on breath and then we're moving to nutrition. How about that?
Let's do it.
All right. So our friend Brian is asking, can you say that again about how not to breathe to make sure we are activating fight or flight?
Yes. Okay. So most of us breathe wrong. And this is how I was breathing, say 4 years ago, before I found my breath, so to speak. Right. And this is how most, especially in like our modern American culture, we're sitting all day and we're stressing. So everything is rolled forward. Hopefully you guys can see me. And we're breathing these shallow breaths through our mouth and through our chest like this. And our shoulders are raising with each time, and it's tightening up all these muscles. That's ruining the problem already. Okay. So it's causing you to be more stressed throughout the day because coincidentally, you're overactivating those muscles that get overactivated when you stress, which is all in your neck, right? So what you have to do is a couple things. One is sit up nice and tall. Keep your chin over your heart and your head over your stomach and everything engaged. Stack your bones. And then throughout the day, just normal breathing, close your mouth. Keep your mouth closed and take nice, slow, controlled breaths through your nose all day. And that is the proper way to breathe all day, is close your mouth, breathe through your nose, and make sure you're using your diaphragm and your chest all together. Because if you're breathing through just your chest, you're probably only getting about 30% out of your breath because all that room is in that 360 diaphragm all the way around. So you want to use that to be able to really get as much out of your oxygen as you possibly can.
So it's the shallow breathing that is the stimulus for fight or flight.
Yeah. Well, it's the short, shallow, through your mouth and through your chest. You're activating everything that is telling your body to fight for your life for a tiger.
Yeah, I've experienced that.
Because I promise you, like, if you've ever been scared, or like if someone ever cut you off where you like catch yourself almost getting a wreck in a car, what do? Because you need that quick, because you're trying to get something quick to fight for your life. And that's how we're breathing all day. And guess what? When we're breathing like that, our digestive system is not working. It's turned off. Our whole system to help repair and replenish our whole body is turned off. And we're not our best selves. We can't create because we're too busy fighting for our life. And that could be coming from any sort of stressor. And I think the most common one today is our phones, because everything is our phones and those TVs. Like, it's just activating all of that over and over again, and then it's just feeding that system. And we have to pull those weeds and feed and nourish the things that are going to make us feel good long term.
Awesome points, Will. Last question on breathing from our friend Kai. If I'm pronouncing that right, forgive me. Do you use the O2 trainer from Bass Rutin? It is supposed to increase your lung capacity. Do you know anything about that?
No, no. I wish I did. Send me some information on it on Instagram. Like I'd love to read about it and learn about it. Like I'm always open to learning new things. One thing I always like to do is I always like to like find something that contradicts what I believe. And I kind of learned this process through Ray Dalio, if you know, but humans are pretty much always wrong. Like we're always wrong, so we have to kind of realize that to know that we're always wrong. So the best thing that we could do as humans is to find the smartest people we can that disagree with us and have a good conversation of, hey, why do you disagree? And let's learn and compare our notes to figure out what's really best,
Oh, cool.
So, and that's what I like to do with my knowledge of nutrition, my knowledge of breath, my knowledge of movement is I always like to have a good conversation with somebody who disagrees with me to understand, what does this guy know that I don't know? Because maybe I'm missing something.
Incredible. Awesome, dude. Well, look, lots of questions here about nutrition, cold showers, intermittent fasting, moving, all kinds of stuff. So I'm going to compartmentalize those and start us out with your backyard versus where a lot of people are starting, and that's in their apartment. How would you scale down what you've created in your yard to someone who's like, well, I don't have the space, but I like the idea. What do I do?
Okay. So that's a good question. Like a lot of people think I live on like a big property and have like a big yard, but I actually have a pretty small front. Like I live in a regular, like low class subdivision with like a bunch of really cheap and small houses. And my front yard's not big and my backyard's not big, but all you need is any dirt, any grass, any land. Like if you live in an apartment, it's a little bit tougher. But if you have anywhere that, if you just have some access of land, even if it's 10 square feet, and this is something that I get asked about, like, how do I get started? Okay. Just start with some dirt. Do you have any access to any dirt? And just start building that soil. Start creating the best, most nutritious soil that you can. If that's in your parents' backyard, if that's a little corner in a friend's backyard, if that's in a couple pots in your apartment, just start building the best soil that you can. And when you can, and this goes back to the nutrition aspect as well. If you can connect your gut to your soil, that's when you are really going to have everything working on all cylinders. But the best way to do it is start building your soil is wood chips, is mulch. That is the way nature does it as well, is you kind of want to copy how nature does it because they've been perfecting it for millions and millions and millions of years. They've been perfecting not only how to grow food, but how to feed this planet. And the way the earth does it is every fall, all the sticks and the leaves, they fall and it mulches that system and it creates this sponge-like that keeps water and keeps all of the nourishment in and then feeds that nourishment to all the plants. So if you just start, and it's completely free too, just call your local tree companies and they have to pay to drop off this mulch and they will drop it off to anywhere you want, and you just start building your soil with that. And every time it rains, it's going to start disposing that compost heat. And then once you got that mulch laid, start planting the plants that you want. And it's going to be the easiest to find plants that grow in your area. So it might take a little research. Like if you live in a place that doesn't have a winter, that doesn't get below 32 degrees, you've lucked out because you can grow practically anything. You can go grow practically anything besides the plants that need a winter. And there's a lot of plants that need a winter. And if you do live in a cold place like Minnesota, I have a friend in Minnesota growing a lot of food. If you live in a cold place, those are the plants that you focus on. A lot more of those stone fruits, like the apples, the cherries, the apricots, stuff like that. And there's a bunch of different vegetables that grow year round up north as well. So you just have to focus on three things really. Like if you're wanting to start growing your own food, which is the best possible thing that we can be eating, which I'm going to get into a little bit more later, but there's three things. One is build your soil. And that goes through every aspect of your whole entire life. But start with what's closest to you. Any access of earth that you have is start building your soil with mulch, with all your food scraps, with coffee grounds, any sort of organic biomass. Just feed that back into the earth. And that's going to just start building the soil, because this is a real epidemic for our species, is we're actually running out of human soil. They say we have like 30 to 50 years left of farmable soil on this planet because we're killing it with all of the chemicals and just our bad farming practices that we're doing in the industrial farming system. So the best thing that you could be doing for yourself and your health and this planet is just start building the soil. And that's going to help nourish this planet and nourish this earth. And it's going to nourish you because it's going to give you the best possible foods that you can eat. So that's the first step, is just put in your food scraps and start nourishing your soil. And the second plant is plant the plants that you want. Plant plants that you like to eat. Plant seeds, plant seeds, plant like tiny plants, like plant what you want. And, and then that goes to the third step, is just sit back and observe. And that's where you're going to get your biggest teacher. Is just, you want to talk about growth and transformation, sit back and watch how nature does it, because we're all playing by the same rules and we're all playing by the same laws. If you want to learn how to grow, if you want to learn how to evolve, if you want to learn how to become a better version of yourself to contribute to your environment, you sit back and you watch nature, because it's happening all around. It's happening all around. And that's been one of my biggest teachers. So if you focus on those three things, that's going to give you the best possible thing. And that's what led me to my diet. Like, I don't eat 100% of everything I eat out of my yard. That's extremely difficult now, because one, it takes time, and like I like bad food too, but what I do is I try to eat a little something out of my yard every single day, just to help nourish my gut and align my gut with my environment. Because guess what? Plants have figured this stuff out for thousands of years. So the food that grows in your environment is the best possible food that you can be eating to survive and thrive in your environment and your climate. So for example, if you live in Washington State, apples have the perfect amount of nutrients to nourish your body in that specific rainy, cold climate. But if you live in a warm place where you sweat all day and that's pretty humid, oranges are going to grow really good to help give you the perfect nutrients for that, or bananas or something where you need those extra sugars. And when you start eating in a line to your geographical location, that's when you start really to connect and learn how to contribute to your environment. And that's when your gut is going to align best with your whole entire system. And you're not going to get cold, and you're not going to get the flu or get the cold every time the seasons change, because guess what? Those oranges are seasonal. And when the season changes, there's a different food available. And there's a different thing that's in harvest. And when you're eating aligned with the seasons, like when it's colder, a lot more greens are available. And when it's warm and sweaty, a lot more fruits are available. And when we're eating close to like what's available, because plants have been perfecting the perfect amount of nutrients for millions of years. Just trust the universe, trust nature, trust what you come from. And the closer that we can eat to that, the healthier we're going to be and the healthier that we're going to feel. But unfortunately, you want to know what the problem is? It's not very readily available. Okay. Like it's not easy to go and eat like that. Like I put a lot of effort and a lot of intention into that. But the bad news is it's not readily available. Like, it's not convenient to go out and eat to the highest quality, and that's why it comes up to us to vote on this every single day with our dollars for what we're going to expend. So by us going out and sourcing the best thing that is available, maybe sourcing a little bit of the organic vegetables instead of, the stuff that's grown in Mexico loaded with a bunch of chemicals, to source, to start looking, okay, where is this food grown? Is this grown in my state? Is this grown in my area? Like, what foods do grow in my area? And just start learning, because that just helps the process of mastery, as well as learning what your body's going to function on the most. And for some of us, even like, I've been to places around the world, like in in tough parts of Jacksonville where you can't even find vegetables, or I'm sorry, where you can't even find organic grown vegetables,
Sure.
right? Because people aren't buying it. So you have to source what is the best thing available to you. And then guess what? Start planting what you can do, and then like as the more you're voting and the more you're planting and you're thinking global, but you're acting local, the more that these things are going to become readily available, and the better we're all going to be able to eat on more convenience with better prices. And it's going to help, guess what? Raise our whole potential of us as a species and as a planet, because what's good for us is good for the planet. When we're eating foods that are bad for us, I mean, in every instance that I see, if you're eating food that is bad for you, it's also killing the planet.
Mm.
It's, and the things that are killing the planet are also killing us. We are this planet. If you look at a tree from an outside perspective, all you see is one tree. Okay. If you see a person, all you see is one person, but you don't see all the different thousands of microorganisms that make up, and the tiny life that's within that makes up that one living organism. Like we have millions and billions of different microorganisms that are living in us, but we only see one of us. But in the same way, is if you're sitting on the moon, what would you see from the moon? One Earth with all these different tiny organisms working together. We are this Earth, and the more that we're causing this cancer in our environment with the things that are kind of raping the Earth to get the instant right now, it's just killing us. It's just killing our planet, and it's short-term gratification with long-term consequences that, I mean, we're already doing pretty good. I just think we can do better.
Yeah, your wisdom words there were reminding me of the movie Avatar. I think there were a lot of undertones of these kind of things in that movie as well.
I gotta watch that movie again, because for some reason that's been keep coming up in my brain. That was like the last movie I ever seen in movie theaters, and I didn't understand the concept when I was 17 years old.
Yeah.
Like I really didn't. I just thought, okay, a silly movie about aliens, right? But like now it keeps, like, as I'm learning these things, I keep getting little flashes of that movie inside my head.
Yeah, they were trying to tell us way back then.
Yeah.
So look, Will, we're approaching an hour, and there's some questions that have been sitting here a little time from people who are still sitting here. So I want to go back. This might take us off nutrition topic a little bit. So I'm just going to run through them real quick but this will be recorded, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. So don't worry, you can catch it if you have to jump off. But Fernan asked, what are the benefits of fasting, and do you engage in that process?
Oh, I'm so happy that they asked this question. Yes, fasting is probably the best things we can all be doing for our health, our happiness, and like even for the planet, to be honest. I'm pretty sure everybody from like the ancients, from Socrates, Hippocrates to Benjamin Franklin, have all talked about fasting being our greatest medicine, because I'm not sure. It could have been Benjamin Franklin, it could have been Socrates, but one of them said that when we're eating and when we're sick, we're actually just feeding sickness, and that hit home to me, because like if we're sick, then we need all of our resources and all of our body to work on that sickness. But on top of that, like if you're not sick, and if in any sort of fasting, and I take fasting of anything over 12 hours,
Okay.
so I like to at least make 12 hours every single day is my goal. And that's how I use fasting. But, but if I'm bad, if I'm a naughty boy, sometimes I'll make sure that goes up to 18 hours or 20 hours, or sometimes I'll do a day fast. I've done all the way up to eight days. And that was one of the most life-changing, best things I've ever done in my whole entire life. And I broke my fast with a smoothie from ingredients in my backyard. And like, that was one of the most gratifying things for me. And like, it really took me to the next level. Like I felt my body just releasing all of these toxins. I felt it, I tasted it, I smelt it. Like everything that we do is producing toxins inside our body because we live in a toxic environment. Every time somebody cuts you off in the road and you think, oh, fuck that motherfucker, guess what? You just produced all these toxic chemicals that produced inside your body that sit there. Every single bad food that we eat, or every single bad air that we breathe, every bad traumatic experience, it produces toxins within our body that hold us back, that kind of that Wim Hof helps you to get to and release too.
Mhm.
But it brings you to that moment as well. And our body does all of its work on an empty stomach. That's why they say that our body does all of this work when we're sleeping, because it spends the first 2 hours digesting that food that you just ate right before bed. And then it spends the next 6 hours just cleaning your brain, cleaning your stomach, cleaning everything and digesting all of that. And if you go over like 3 days, you've rebuilt your whole entire immune system. Like, I'm not sure if this is factual, but I've read and I've heard in a couple places that a 1 day fast can actually release about 1 year's worth of toxins,
Hmm.
right? Which is crazy. And they say a 3 day fast, you rebuild your whole entire immune system. And what's weird is like, if you're doing long extended periods of fast, like, and something happened, say 3 or 4 years ago, that was really traumatic. On that third or fourth day, you might feel yourself reworking through that and releasing that energy and releasing that toxic shit. Like, for example, I had something really traumatic happen like 6, 7 years prior to when I started that fast. And on that sixth, seventh day, I felt my body and everything working that out and releasing that toxins. And you see it, you taste it. It's on, like, it's on you, like you smell it. And like, and what's funny is at the end of my 8 day fast, I weighed the exact same weight as I weighed 8 years prior, which, coincidental, who knows? But you don't have to do these long extended fasts at all. Start with 12 hours. Just give your stomach a break. Like, I used to think too, because I used to be on like this bodybuilder diet, and this is what they teach you as well, to have breakfast as soon as you can and then have 7, 8 meals a day to keep that or to keep your digestive system rolling. But you don't want that, you know what I mean? Like,
It's not sustainable.
no. Like, I looked good, but I felt like shit. My energy was low because my body was always digesting food instead of cleaning my body and giving
Right.
me some beautiful ideas about what I could do with my energy, you
Hmm.
know? So when I began just giving myself 12 hours, and then as you get better, you can shrink that time. And maybe and 12 hours is not hard. If you have dinner at 8 p.m., I promise you can make 8 a.m. And
Sure.
if you can't, that's something you really got to practice and you really got to work on as a priority, because that lack of self willpower is holding you back in every area of your whole entire life if you can't make 12 hours. So like, so fasting is so much more than physical, it's mental as well. If you learn your best lessons on an empty wallet and an empty stomach, because you
Hmm.
learn what's important. You
Yeah.
you really do.
Well, our friend JC Castillo is asking, is your diet mostly plant-based then? Or do you cover the gamut?
um So I like to start off my day as best as possible with like a little bit of a fast and breaking it with a super smoothie loaded with a bunch, like as much of the best nourishing foods I possibly can. So a bunch of stuff from my yard, and the stuff I'm not getting from my yard, I try to look for organic and stuff like that. But
Yeah, the one this
I,
morning looked good, by the way.
yeah, oh, it was really good actually. But I'm not vegan in any way. Like, I do eat meat, but I have limited the amount of meat that I eat 100%, especially now that I'm just healing.
Yeah.
When I'm in full blown like training like as a professional athlete, I'm tending to eating a lot more meat and a lot more grains, because I'm outputting thousands and thousands and
Sure.
thousands of calories a day, and I'm building, and it takes an excess that is not necessarily even healthy for your body. Like, if you want your body to last a long, long time, you want to actually eat as little as possible. But like, now that I am just healing from my shoulder injury and I'm focused on that, I'm genuinely trying to eat as less meat as possible, and, give my body a break from meat 100%, because your body has to work overtime to digest meat. It really, really does. So yeah, so I
Cool.
do eat meat, but I try to limit it. And and the meat that I do eat, I try to source from as best as possible. Because if you eat a sick and stressed animal, you're going to be sick and
You're going to
stressed.
get it
So
too.
I don't go to the grocery store and just buy chicken or buy beef or buy turkey. Like, when I do buy meat, like I have to buy unfortunately it's the most expensive stuff, but I
Of
look for
course.
it to be like I look for a happy animal who lived a
Ah,
good life.
okay.
Because if you look for a happy animal that lived a good life and that farmer is taking care of that animal, then it's going to give you good positive nutrients. But if that animal is sick and being used as a commodity and as a product and not as a living species, then that's going to be a sick and stressed animal that's going to give you all of those toxic energy or toxic information, because food is just information.
Yeah.
100% food is our body taking in information, and you want that good quality information from your environment and from other living things.
That's a good perspective, Will. I, I like that. I like the way you said that. Another question. This is back to cold showers that we talked about last time. Our friend Chris Lundgren, excuse me, started with a cold shower challenge when the 4 weeks is up. What do you recommend after that? I mean, how do you keep the cold water challenge going and its outcome be the same?
Take a cold shower every morning. Yeah,
It's still
bro.
shocking no matter what.
No, I mean, like, it gets better because you get stronger. If you made 30 days, there's no reason why you shouldn't just wake up and have a cold shower every morning. You
Cool.
know, but hey, if there's a time where you want a warm shower, take a warm shower. Don't beat yourself up if you miss it that day. But man, I promise you, if you made it 30 days, you'll feel even better if you made it 6 months.
Cool. Our friend Jim is asking, hey, Will, you mentioned a while back you started to pay attention to the music around you for the betterment of self. Has classical music changed your life in any way that you're aware of?
Not on like big drastic levels as much as like the breathing techniques, the movement techniques, or growing my own food, but it has definitely helped to just kind of because music is so good at just directing your energy in which way, and I was always listening to like regular music with bad energy, like rap music, pop music, just popular music. And I noticed that it was bringing my mind just towards my ego,
Mm.
and I was, and my brother was like, I think playing some Marilyn Manson or something. And I was like, dude, like that's the worst thing ever. You talk about, and he mentioned me about like the rap music, and I was like, well, he's probably right. And then he's the one that was actually like, if you want to talk about music that actually is known to raise your energy and help you be in that present moment, it's classical. And I was like, really? And of course, all my best shit comes from him.
Of
you know,
course.
like all the real good techniques I learned come from my brother. And sure enough, so I've been putting on classical music, just constantly on if I'm around doing something in the house, or if I'm creating, or if I'm working on a project. And I love eating with classical music. I don't know
Oh,
why, but I
interesting.
love like taking my time and making a good meal, and then just sitting in pure silence and classical music. Um, I don't know. It just makes me feel I can just focus on those nutrients healing my body. But that's
Ah,
crazy,
cool. But that's worth a try. Try a
Yeah,
different
I know,
tasting.
but that's what pure presence is. Like that's what a lot of like monks do as well, is when they're eating, they're just pure presence and chewing their food, and this is something that I have to practice because, I've always been a just chowing down kind of person. But it's just slowing down, because chewing is the first step to digestion. So the
Mm.
longer you can chew and the more that you can chew your food, and that's going to produce the enzymes that like literally the more you're going to get out of your food, the more you chew. So so if you almost over chew your food and just being present with those nutrients and know what you're eating is healing your body, you're going to get a lot more out of it.
Yeah, and you'll get satiated quicker, right? I mean, the satiation signal will reach you faster before you finish your meal if you eat slower. You won't eat as much, I've heard.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, because it takes 15 minutes, they say, to have your stomach tell your brain that it's full. So if
That's
you're
right.
chowing down, that's how you get over full. If you're just eating slow, your body will tell you on time how
There you
much it
go.
wants.
Our
100%.
friend Kai is asking, do you do cold showers every day or any type of cold exposure every day?
Pretty much. I mean, I try to 100%. I will admit, like, the only time I really don't take cold showers is after a big crash, or like a big injury, or like a big surge. Like in the past 2 or 3 years, like I think it's been about 2 years where I've really taken cold showers almost every single morning. Other than like I said, a big old crash. I got road rash all over me. Like I'm already uncomfortable. The last thing I need is a cold shower. You know what I mean? Like, like if my body is already uncomfortable and it needs to just relax, I don't need a cold shower.
Got it.
And so like even a few weeks after that shoulder surgery, I was not taking a cold shower because my body needed to relax. Cold shower wasn't what I needed. Trust me.
Right. Absolutely.
Like I've got the benefits from a cold shower for the past 2 years. And now my body's just now starting to feel really good. And I've been back on the cold showers pretty much every morning.
Okay, cool. Speaking of your brother, did he listen to the show from a couple of weeks ago, by the way?
Probably not.
I told him to.
Did you?
Yeah,
probably not.
He said that's so cool.
Hey, he'll probably tell you, I know all the stuff he's talking about. I've been there, man.
Who do you think taught him all that?
Yeah, exactly.
So this our friend Jessica says, what made you decide to get stem cell injections, and did you explore other regenerative injections? She is considering Prolo or PRP. Sorry.
Okay, so that's a good question. And when I got stem cells, I was at a point where like my knee exploded. So like my knee was in such bad shape. Like I was just beating up and I was moving improperly, and I was training, and I was not recovering. I was always in this stress state and I was lifting so much weights and I was just damaging my body from crashes, from weights, from stress, everything. And like, I started to understand movement a little. Like I was just now starting to really learn how to move properly. And my whole body was out of whack. And as I was realigning my body, it just broke. So my knee exploded and it cracked my femur up. And like, I didn't really know the severity of it. And I actually finished the season racing like that with just cortisone shots every month or so. And it just caused so much damage to my knee. It was so stupid. It wasn't smart in any way because I was just causing more damage to a point and I wasn't even doing well because I was doing well or I was doing really bad in my competitions because I was in pain. My training was bad. My competitions were bad. I was just thinking about the pain. And then after the season, I went in for a surgery that I thought was going to fix it. And the doctor did a microfracture surgery where essentially he takes a drill and drills up the whole thing, breaks up the whole thing, and hopes that it starts up your natural stem cells to rebuild the whole process itself. And then I kind of got like a restart where I was relearning how to walk, really. I had to relearn how to walk, but the pain was not going away. But I jumped on the bike too soon as well. So I jumped on the bike too soon and I got back training in like 3 months and I was supposed to wait 6 months. And I went to the doctor and I was telling him like, look, dude, my knee's hurting. And he was saying, well, you may never walk again without pain. Like you caused so much damage to your knee. You may be like this forever, And that's when I was like, I mean, on the drive home from that conversation, I started crying. I was so scared because I value so much in being able to move and use my body. Like I love to use my hands, like I love to get out and get in things and run and play and, play like, and that was probably one of the scariest moments of my whole entire life. And by that 30-minute drive home, I devoted, like I made a promise to myself that I was going to devote every ounce of energy in learning how to heal and fix my body and like how can I feel as best as possible, and I'm going to be running up mountains into my 50s, and I promised myself that. And then I got home, I started doing the work, and my manager Gary was hearing about a guy's doing stem cells, and I was like, hey, might as well try it out, like why not, So then I went and I met with him and I started to educate myself a little bit on stem cells. And essentially from what I understand is it was like putting these super construction workers into that area that just work overtime in rebuilding your cells. So like, it's just something that your body is already doing, especially on an empty stomach, is it's constantly working on rebuilding its cells and cleaning and fixing. But he took like these super stem cells that are from like, it was deep in my pelvis because I'm a young, healthy person, like back in the deep part of my pelvis, pulled them out, put them straight in. to my knee, and then I just had to lay back. So for about 9-10 months, I could barely walk. I was stuck on 4,000 steps, where I was literally stuck in my house. 4,000 steps is not, like, if I go to the grocery store, it's too much. It was just enough to be able to pretty much go to the bathroom and feed myself, right? So during this time that's when I started fasting. I rethought everything that I was doing. So I started restudying my movement and breathing. And this is around the same time I started breathing every single day, and I started journaling, I started sketchbooking, I started reading. I could never read in my whole entire life. I couldn't sit still long enough until I started meditating and breathing. So then I was reading, and everything started changing because I was starting to really get other people's perspectives on life. But then, did the stem cells help? They did, because it's like putting these super construction workers inside my knee. But if I didn't fix what first caused me to get into that position in the first place, I could have took stem cells and it could have helped a little bit, but in a couple of years, I was just going to be in the same position. I had to change the way that I was moving my body. I had to stop and reflect of why my knee was hurting. Like, pain is your body trying to signal your brain. But by the time it gets to pain, that's your body screaming at you, hey, I need attention. I'm trying to tell you something. And if you don't stop and listen to that and then adjust something and change something, that pain's going to get louder and louder and louder. And you can take a pill or do a procedure or take a shot, and it's going to quiet that down, but it's not going to fix the real issue. And that takes connecting with yourself, and that takes working those things out in that process of self-mastery. And that's when I started learning, like, just simple things like doing squat sits. Like, when I'm like, a squat sit is a human being resting position. So when you sit into that squat sit, you actually rebalance all of those muscles inside your whole lower body and like fold it all. So you're getting that blood and oxygen into places that don't usually get it throughout the day, because we spend 13 to 16 hours a day sitting in chairs. So like, if you notice right now, like, I'm sitting on the ground, like, and then I was learning that the more I'm sitting in chairs, like, the more we're sitting on the couch, the more that our bodies are getting into that position that is putting all of that pressure on your knee, on your back, on your shoulder. Everybody gets their symptoms differently, but essentially it's the same root cause. Like, if you got back problems, shoulder problems, knee problems, ankle problems, it starts from your posture and your sitting and and I mean, it's all together.
It's all connected.
It's 100%, like, our body works as one living organism, 100%. So like, I began to started doing yoga. I started doing the squat sits. I started just connecting with my body in the same way that I was connecting with my breath in my evening routines and in my morning routines. And then I started taking notes about all of these things that were working best for me and that made my knee feel good that day. I would take a note out of it, or what was causing my knee to, hurt a little bit more. I would take a little note out of it. What postures and movements. And then I just started noticing a few things. Like, a few things is, one is learning about my posture is, and there's 6 checkpoints to posture that I can explain to you real quick. Sure. One is learning how to grip the ground with your feet. And I talked about feet a little bit before. You have to learn how to connect your feet and move your toes so you can connect the ground with your feet. And then you engage your glutes and engage your hips to roll your hips forward and to find that pelvic neutral. So if you do the cat-cow a couple times, or a pelvic tilt, if you don't know what that is, it's just taking your hips and rolling them back and rolling them forward, rolling them back and rolling them forward. And that's one of the best things that you could do for your spine health too, because you're just nourishing it with that blood or oxygen. And when you put it through the range of motion, it has a lot better time sitting in its proper range of motion. And when you squeeze your glutes, then your knees can come outward instead of caving in and causing that damage, because they want you to believe that, hey, as you get older, your body just wears and tears and it starts breaking down. And, as you get older, you're just going to need a knee replacement and a bunch of pills to feel better. When that, like, if something's wearing down like that, especially if it's causing pain, like, you're using that machine wrong. So just to make sure those bones are stacked and those hips are rolled forward. And I have a bunch of videos and and this steps into my course a lot as well, because a lot of these postures are in my course, but keeping your chin back, your shoulders down, and and rolled back, and your chest out. And when I'm walking and moving, I like to think of my chest ahead of my chin. So am I leading with my heart, or am I leading with my head? You want to lead with your heart and have everything stacked, and that's going to make the biggest difference in just feeling good within your body.
Those are good cues to remember. I'm sure there are a lot of those that the Move You program talks about that you referred to.
Yeah. Oh, like Move You is like, that's it. Like the Move You was about 10 times stronger than the stem cells, because when I was doing the stem cells, I also started that Move You course where I was learning all of this stuff.
And that's online, right?
Yep. MoveU.com, like moveuniversity.com. And like, they teach you how to fix your shit by just moving your body. And it's one of the best things that you can do to really learn how to move, because like I said, it's not that myth of that, hey, our body's just wear and tear. We're just using them wrong. And that's what's going to help us to learn how to move and use our body 100%.
Wow. Lots of questions here, Will. We're going to enter the lightning round. You have 1 minute to answer each of these. All right. So here we go. Do you have any favorite books that helped you during some of your darkest and most challenging times?
Ooh, yes. Power versus Force was a really good one. Power versus Force. Okay. Oh no, we got to go to the next question, or do I?
No, well, you've got 45 seconds.
Power versus Force just helped me realize that everything kind of has this certain energy, a positive energy or a negative energy. And the more I got above myself and outside of myself and started contributing to my environment, the more that my energy was raised. And lower energies are energies in the ego, like shame and guilt and even pride and and stuff like that. And once you start getting into the courage and to be able to love and the contributing, then that makes everything is so much better for yourself and for your whole entire environment.
Oh, I love that. Say the name of the book again.
Power versus Force.
Okay. Awesome. Cool. For nutrition, what kind of breakdown do you do for intermittent fasting? Also, do you couple it with any particular diet like keto?
I focus mainly on sourcing the best quality stuff I can. And then when I want some bad food, I get it, baby. But my basic diet right now is I'm fasting until about 12 to 3 o'clock. I break it with a super smoothie. And then I usually have like a bowl with a bunch of vegetables or sweet potatoes and vegetables, sometimes meat, sometimes not meat, a bunch of avocado, poured in a bunch of olive oil. That's extremely important because we need those fats that so many of us are just not getting enough good, healthy fats. And that's like the oil that helps everything run properly inside your system. So I drench almost everything I eat with olive oil. And then I usually have a dinner. If my roommate makes it something delicious, it's usually something like that. Sometimes we'll have a little dessert. Hey, I'm not perfect. I love dessert too. and then, yeah, like I try to have a huge concept to my diet, and what I found to be literally the best diet past the ingredients as the timing. So what we're finding is the smaller that your window of eating throughout the day is, the healthier you're going to be and the longer you're going to live. So for example, if you have your first calories at 12 o'clock and if you have your last calories at 8 o'clock, your eating window is 8 hours. And the more that you can shrink that eating window, the healthier you're going to be and the longer you're going to live. I promise you. Like everybody from Jack Dorsey to like monks do this. And it's because one, you're giving your body that extra fast to take care of all the things that you need to take care of. So it's not overrunning your whole entire system. So your system can work on creating and regenerating. And then, yeah, you can get all your nutrients in the smaller window as you can. And that's the goal. But if you're a professional athlete, I find it to be extremely difficult because I know when I'm training as an athlete and all of my friends around me, like you have to eat constantly all day.
It's hard to get all the calories in a small window.
Yeah. And that's because I'm constantly around explosive athletes, and that's just the sport that I'm constantly around, where you have to explode constantly. Like you have to be extremely powerful and extremely strong, and they are just a complete furnace. They're burning so much, so it's hard to have that in a small window. So you need that extra fuel if you're training 5-6 hours a day.
Gotcha. Marianka is asking, what is the most precious advice that you have learned from Move You so far? One piece of advice that has impacted you the most.
Um, I'm going to give you two: connect with your feet and connect with your pelvis. So your
Cool.
pelvis, so like, dude, I will show you, might be kind of weird, but so like your hips right here, right? Most of us are either too far here or too far here, and that brings everything out of a line. So learning how to give that pelvis tilt, bringing it forward and back, is going to help everything else align. So just like building a house, how you want to build a strong house, you want a strong foundation, that's like your feet, and then you want a strong infrastructure, and that's your core, your glutes, and your pelvis. So the more that you can connect with those, like even being able, like a stripper, to be able to glute pop, to engage one butt cheek at a time, and being able to move your hips back and forth, to be able to connect with your feet and connect with your hips, it helps you move and use your whole body better. And your shoulders are really the same way. You want to learn how to have that range of motion inside your shoulders to be able to scoop your armpits forward instead of having them here, you're having them here. So
Got
yeah.
it. All right. Ian's asking, for movement and healing, would you recommend anything for someone that has trouble with hip flexors? He's had back surgery, so occasionally have hip troubles.
Yes, 100%. Get on the ground. Get on the ground. Spend time on the ground. And if it's extremely difficult for you because of your current lifestyle, start with 30 minutes every night time on the ground. And those squat sets, if you can start, even if you have to hold on to something, start with squat sets and spend time on the ground. And just know all the time that you're spending sitting in the chair is probably causing that to be worse. So get off the couch, get off the chair, and get on the ground as much as you possibly can. And when you're on the ground, your hips must stretch. So if you're moving up and down from the ground and on the ground, like I try to be a ground liver as much as possible, because that keeps your body's ability to get up and down and gets your hips to open up. But if your hips are tight, it's because you're sitting too much, and you want to sit as close you can to the ground. Start with meditating. If you haven't started meditating, sit on the ground and meditate. And then 30 minutes every single night, set a timer, get on the ground and stretch your hips, do some yoga, just get off the couch, foam roll. But if you're on the ground with a timer for 30 minutes plus with no distractions, your body will tell you what it needs.
Awesome. Faith Sheely's asking, favorite thing to eat from the yard?
Ooh.
You only can pick one. You can only pick one.
Ooh, that's tough. That's tough. I mean, check this out. We have a tree that gives off cherries that taste like cotton candy. It's called a strawberry tree. I'm not sure why they call it a strawberry tree, but it gives off these things that look like little cherries, but they taste like pure cotton candy. That's been one of my favorites.
That's incredible. Jeez.
Yeah. I also have one that tastes like peanut butter, and I have berries. Like I have ice cream flavored bananas. Ooh, it's hard to beat the bananas. Yeah.
So our friend James might have come on after we talked about this, about your morning routine. So James, that is earlier that you can catch in the recording what Will does first thing in the morning. Thank you for that question. That's been a consistent question throughout here.
Because the morning routine has been, honestly, when I was going through that time of redirecting my whole entire life, I started connecting with myself and learning all these things that I wanted to accomplish to step into my purpose and to step into my potential. And I had all of these different shit that I want, but I wasn't getting through the day and getting them all done until I started just creating a morning routine that matched with my goals. Because if you just take control of your morning, you take control of your whole entire day. Your morning sets the tone of your day. And that's something I noticed. If it took me a long time to get out of bed in the morning, that same day, it takes me a long time to start my first project. It takes me a little bit longer to start my second project. It takes me a little bit longer to make dinner. You know what I mean? And it's the same way. The way you wake up is the way you go about your day. So if you wake up with intention and purpose, you'll go about your day with intention and purpose.
Awesome. Halima joined late. She apologizes. She wants to
It's okay.
know your take on bread, pasta, and rice. I think you kind of covered that in that you really source your food very carefully, and I don't want to call it
But I eat it, yo, like, so bread, pasta, and rice they're bad. Okay. Like there's no way around it. It's just sugar. Like rice isn't as bad, but it's still not good. Okay. But that being said, I eat bread. I love pasta. And every once in a while, I'll eat rice a few times a week. But I focus on the good. Okay. I focus on the good. And yo, if I want to have an amazing pasta dinner, I will have an amazing pasta dinner.
there
I
you
just
go.
might fast a few more hours or the next day just to make sure my body gets all that bullshit out. Like I'm not about like never having all these beautiful, awful things that are in the world, because I want to enjoy these indulgences too. But that's the beautiful thing about fasting, because it's your own way to repent from your sins.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Connected to spirituality. Our friend Braden is saying, I have always enjoyed watching you make your smoothies and talk about the nutritional value they bring. Do you have any suggestions on how to get started? He's never made one before, and all the fruits and vegetables and powders you use are a little intimidating. Where do you begin?
Oh, that's a good question. So start off with a blender. And
Very important.
yeah. Just start off with a blender. And if you have something in your house, just try to, like, what you have: spinach, kale, avocado. Like, start with some sort of fruits and vegetables. And I like to have about 80% vegetables, so not so much fruit. And just start with what you have. And then past that, start with what's at the grocery store. Try to grab something green, try to grab something orange, try to grab a few different colors. And because each different color is going to work on a different system inside your body. Every different fruit or vegetable supports and nourishes a different system inside your body. So just start experimenting. Like, if you need a very simple base, get something green like spinach and kale, throw in some ginger and turmeric in there, and some avocado and some blueberries and strawberries. Just start with that.
And then you have
Okay.
to play with the taste, because some of that can taste like cardboard. I mean,
Oh,
it's
oh,
really
oh,
bad.
yeah. And if you really struggle with taste, there's a couple tricks. Cinnamon, which is actually really healthy for you, you can add that in, which is good, and it helps the taste a lot. Or peanut butter, which peanut butter isn't really the best thing in the world for you, but it's not the worst thing, and it really helps the taste.
Wow, awesome. All right, last question. Well, no, I've got a couple more. Here's one. Tell me about your experience with CBD oil. Give me your take on that. Know I have my opinion.
I've actually loved to hear it. Like, CBD is really good at helping you relax that certain part of what you're trying to relax. So what I've noticed, so for example, if my ankle's a little sore that day, I can put a little CBD on it, and it kind of helps relieve that pain in that moment. But it's not going to fix anything. It's not going to fix anything, and it's not going to heal anything in any way of kind of showing you a little bit closer of what it's supposed to feel like if it feels a little better. But CBD is like, my grandma uses it and she loves it, and she doesn't use nothing that doesn't work. You know what I'm saying?
And she would
But
tell you that too.
yeah. But like, it's good for her because like, it helps her relax at nighttime to get a good night's sleep and, activate her rest or digest. But we can also, like, it helps, but it's not going to heal. It's not going to cure anything.
Yeah.
All your answers are within yourself, and your breath is your doorway in. Okay. Like, the CBD, like, it can help relieve that instant pain, but that pain is trying to tell you something. So you should probably listen to it.
Yeah, fair enough. Just from the pharmaceutical perspective, I think CBD oil has to be sourced just like food does, because that is
Oh, there's blue, huh?
that is an unregulated industry. Standards, it's hard to know if one bottle of CBD is equivalent to another bottle of CBD. So it's really confusing out there, and I think you can end up wasting a lot of money if you're not careful.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
think there's something to it. I just don't know what it is.
Yeah, but after we said all that, I put CBD cream on today and yesterday. So like, so I mean, I use it, you know, and like it does, like, you know, my ankle was pretty sore because for the first time, I actually, like for the first time in 10 years, I actually ran 2 days in a row over a mile.
Wow.
Right. And because that was one of the biggest goals for me, because that doctor told me I was never going to run again without
Hmm.
pain. And like, and, and I'm finally, like I tell you, I'm stepping into my potential every single day, you know? So every single day, I'm reaching a whole new level of myself, and I'm running barefoot to teach my body how to use its ligaments and to learn how to land soft. And,
Hmm.
you know, and to learn, you know, I'm practicing how to move and use my body. And my knee felt great, right? But the ligaments in my ankle were sore as hell because they haven't been used like that in 10 years, right? And I haven't been training hard for the BMX thing since last November. So you know, it was just sore. So hey, I put a little CBD cream on it. Makes walking around a little, you know, and I feel the difference. You know, I'm pretty in tune. Like, but I've used some CBD cream where I haven't felt anything, and I'm like, this is trash. You
Yeah.
know, so I do feel the difference, and I have used it, but you know, it's not going to fix anything. It's not going to cure anything. You know, the answers are within yourself. You know.
Cool. Let's see. How important is it to get enough hours rest? I think you know what that answer is. How many hours of sleep do you get, Will? And how do you prepare for sleep and manage?
Ooh, okay. So what I have written down and what my goal is tends to always change with my nighttime routine because the days get crazy, right?
Hmm.
But I like to have a rough. So I like to tell myself at around 8 o'clock, start thinking. All right, remember I got to start winding down. I got to turn off the computer. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I got to start slowing down and make sure I'm fed and ready for, you know, bed. And then at 9, so in between 8 to 10, I try to have 15 to 30 minutes in my journal where I'm just writing down the daily's insights and planning my next day. And I like to have 30 minutes just on the ground with my body, you know, of just breathing into my body, because we all have these built up tensions throughout the day, because we all do some sort of the same repetitive movements every single day. No matter what job you have, you do kind of the same things every day, and that builds a little bit of an imbalance and a little bit of a buildup. So at nighttime, to be able to devote 30 minutes on the ground, you know, maybe if it's just putting your fingers in between your toes to separate your toes, or to get into that happy baby, or to start stretching your
Mhm.
hips or start stretching your shoulders to just release, you know, because we hold in all the stress right inside our neck. So to be able to, you know, breathe and stretch our neck, it's going to help us, one, get so much more effective sleep, because it's going to help our, you know, our body doesn't have to work through all that during sleep, because you've already done it for it. So now
Right.
it can go in to start doing some, like the next level stuff, and you wake up more clear headed and like less shit from weighing you down the day before.
Hmm.
Um, and so during those, like, I give myself an hour of what to do from 8 to 10. And and I also really like to turn I do this most days, is turning my phone on airplane mode. I try to do it um, anytime after 8 o'clock, definitely by 9 o'clock. And I've been trying to go to sleep by 10, and then waking up at like 6:30 to 7. But I listen to my body, you know, and I put my body under a lot of stress and a lot of pressure, because I'm pushing myself every single day to find a new potential of myself every single day. So like, I'm pushing myself physically and giving everything I got physically to evolve myself physically, in the same way that I'm training myself mentally by trying to create as much as I can, like taking everything that I've learned to create into things that is going to help contribute to society and contribute to the world. And yeah, so
Hmm.
there it is.
Well, that's the rebranding of Will Grant. I mean, that's the source of happy, healthy, happier, healthier, stronger, right? I mean,
Yeah.
why don't we close out the webinar with that so that people understand that, you know, everybody's been commenting in the chat room about your passion and how they appreciate the passion that you're bringing to this transformative experience of not only your yard, but also your mind and your body. So this is resonating with people. So your giftedness is an opportunity for people to engage with that, right?
Yeah, 100%. And that's really what the Happier, Healthier, Stronger was. When I devoted myself to just healing myself, that was my first process. And then as I began stuck in my house, I started reflecting of like, I started realizing that everything that I put value in myself was what I looked like or what I could physically do. And it left me broken mentally and physically and
Mm.
just disappointed and lost and struggling with depression and in a really low place. And then I started learning that the more I can contribute and give back, and the more that I can, you know, sharpen my own saw, and then take that process of everything that I'm learning and create something that's going to help the next person who wants some similar results that I've experienced. Of like, yo, here I am. I tell you, this is my best life. Like, I'm reaching
Mhm.
my potential every single day. And then these are all of my greatest habits and routines and workouts and postures and pretty much everything of my best that have worked for me, that I was taking notes inside my book. And like, how can I create this routine for people who struggle getting into a routine to have them feeling at their best? Like, how can I make a routine to help somebody else step into their best selves so then they can get to creating their best work and creating their best life? And that's how we bring this whole planet up together as a species. And that's what it is. And that's Happy, Healthy, Strong. And you can check it out on my website, thewillgrant.com. And it's a 6-week course that takes you through each week, and everything's video and guided to teach you how to do all these different movements that I talk about and all my best routines. And and then for the people who aren't quite into the app, I've also just started offering like video coaching calls as well to, maybe you want to connect one-on-one, and, and you have some real specific questions that you want me to help you with. And I'm able to offer that as well. And that's my way to even connect deeper with, the people who are feeling connected with my stuff, so I can start getting more information back of how I can improve my process at the same time of helping another person stepping into their best self from what I've experienced.
That's awesome. And, Will, I think just based on the engagement here, I mean, 26 questions asked in the Q&A, the chat room flowing. We're going to have to do this again. We've been doing it. Let's see,
Let's
this is
do it
our
next
second
week.
one. So we might need to do these a little bit more frequently to get all these questions flowing out.
Yeah.
Is that something you could do?
100%. So we said 2 weeks last time. I'm having too much fun with these and I'm liking them. I think we should start doing one almost every week. Like, let's say every Saturday to start off with. And then, I'd love to get some feedback in the comments or in the questions of like what times work best for them or what days work best for them. And, if we can adjust our timing so we can make it work for everybody. But yeah,
Yeah.
I honestly want to keep doing these. I'm having a great time. Like I said, I wouldn't rather be doing anything else. Like, I want to help, I want to contribute. I want to connect with people so we can learn from each other to step into our best and highest potential.
Awesome. Well, I know we probably have some questions that we can start off with last time. I know we're running almost to the end of the webinar. So guys, you've been engaged. People have been engaged the entire time, Will. There
That's
has
awesome.
been very little change in the attendee list. So kudos to you for the wisdom and the energy that you brought. I think that's what people came for and you delivered. So thank you, Will, for
Thank
giving
you.
us your
No,
best.
I honestly woke up this morning and I wrote in my book, like, I could not be more grateful just to have anybody show up. You know what I mean? Like, anyone to show up and to connect and let's learn from each other. And like, this is my beautiful opportunity to like help somebody with the stuff that I've learned, like, this is when I'm feeling good. This is when we all feel the best, is when we're contributing. And I mean, I just hope that people got some information or some motivation out of this webinar, so where, they're stepping into a better them tomorrow.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So this recording will show up on your YouTube channel. So if you missed anything or want to cover anything that we talked about,
Or send it to anybody who you feel like could use it.
yeah, absolutely. Please share the link that'll show up on YouTube sometime this weekend, whenever I can get it to Will. Uh, I'll get it there as soon as I can. Will, thank you. This has been incredible. I know I learned a lot. So thank you as a brother. I appreciate that very much. And thank you guys for being here the entire time. I love the questions, love the engagement, and really look forward to facilitating this again, Will. We'll get with our schedules and we will post it out there on social media so everybody knows how to reconnect with us. Is that fair?
Yeah, 100%. Oh, and if you really, 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 really enjoyed this thing, give it a screenshot and post it up on your Instagram story and tell me the biggest thing that you learned from today.
Very nice. That's awesome. Well, with that, Will, I guess I'll say goodbye until we chat really soon. Thanks again, guys. Thanks for the engagement, and we'll see y'all soon on chatwithwillgrant.com.
Number 3 on the next one. Later, bro.
Good job, guys.